We've done a lot of videos before and you guys have seen talking about literally every joint in the body,
Yeah,
okay?
on the front side.
Yeah, like how do I increase hip rotation? We talked about the foot, the leg, the left hip, the right side, the rib cage, this, that, next thing. And those are all good and applicable.
Yeah.
But in reality, what we were talking about is if you don't get the sequence correct, you're always gonna struggle with getting that pelvis and hips open. Now, if that's true, that means if you do get the sequence correct, you're always gonna be able to have good pelvis and hip rotation. We'd like to thank Element for sponsoring today's video. You may not think of it as such, but water is one of the most important nutrients in your body and one of the most important parts of regular golfing nutrition. When it comes to highly skilled golfers, they've already put the practice into building their skill. Oftentimes, the differentiating factor is how are they physically prepared for the grind that day? And that's where hydration is so key. Element is a fantastic on-the-go solution for beating dehydration. Element is a drink that replaces essential electrolytes without sugar, coloring, gluten, or artificial ingredients. It contains a science-backed electrolyte ratio, 1,000 milligrams sodium, 200 milligrams potassium, 60 milligrams magnesium, formulated to help anyone with their electrolyte needs. Right now, Element is offering my viewers a sample pack with any order. That's 8 single serving packets free with any Element order. This is a great way to try all 8 flavors or share Element with a friend. You can get yours at drinkelement.com/ecgolf, and the deal is only available through this link. To perform at your physical best every single day, proper hydration is key. All right, guys, in today's video, we're gonna talk about the real way to lead with your hips during the downswing. Really the one surefire thing you can do if you're stuck with no hip rotation, inconsistent golf swings. I've seen JT fix a lot of golf swings with this very drill and concept. We're gonna talk about, JT, why don't we dive right into it?
For sure.
We've done a lot of videos before and you guys have seen talking about literally every joint in the body,
Yeah,
okay?
on the front side.
Yeah, like how do I increase hip rotation? We talked about the foot, the leg, the left hip, the right side, the rib cage, this, that, next thing. And those are all good and applicable.
Yeah.
But in reality, what we were talking about is if you don't get the sequence correct, you're always gonna struggle with getting that pelvis and hips open. Now, if that's true, that means if you do get the sequence correct, you're always gonna be able to have good pelvis and hip rotation. And so, today we're gonna go over this drill here that we use for a lot of players, how they can use it and how it's gonna help them. Why don't we quick hop over? I just wanna show them,
Yeah.
I wanna show you a quick clip of John Rahm talking about this very thing, then we'll hop back, show you how to do it.
There was also a drill we used to make. He loved having me like feel like I was taking the club here,
Right.
right? And then swing as hard as I could, so it'd be something like this. And
So
just
you could play with that realistically.
oh yeah, so
Just
he
like
was
a quarter swing.
without really me understanding. He was making me move my lower body
Right.
and creating that motion. Now
Right.
that sport I mentioned, high ally with the wooden paddle, you do a lot of this
Yeah.
from right here, and then you hit it.
Okay, so there obviously you saw John Rahm using a very similar concept we're gonna talk about to help him get his hips open. He hits it quite okay, okay? So
Did all right.
JT, why don't we talk about how we're gonna perform this and some of the nuances in this video that we really haven't talked about before about, you know, the sequencing of stuff.
For sure. Yeah, so one thing we talked about before is like, hey, you got to get your arms going as your hips open. But what we haven't talked about as much is the early part of the backswing and how you can set that up for you to actually be able to rotate on the way down and lead with your hips on the way down.
And when you even say that, when you say we talk about the arms going, hips going, what does that even mean?
Yeah, so what we've talked about before is what we're looking to have happen in the backswing is for the hands, the arms to keep going some as our hip starts changing direction. And again, this is very intuitive. It's just like a throw, right? I step as I pull my arm back. So there's always something opposite happening.
Moving in different directions.
Moving in different directions.
So to get the sequence correct in general, before we talk about the nuances, what they need to be able to do is have the arms moving this way away from the target.
Yep.
While the hips are open. That needs to be happening at the same time.
Yes.
Okay, now some of you guys have heard that before, but some of the little nuances of how we get there I think is important. And so maybe, yeah, like how would we start that process?
Yes, so what's really important on the early stages of this is that we get some rotation in our ribs and our pelvis early on, and we don't use our arms. Because remember, we're trying to use our arms later so that we can open our hips sooner. So
don't use our arms early.
Yeah, we're
so
not.
we can use, okay,
yeah,
okay.
don't try to use them early. So essentially what
good.
happens is if I start loading them now I don't have much load left.
Yeah, okay.
And I'm trying to load them again and open my hips, can't do it.
Defeats the whole purpose.
Defeats the whole purpose.
Okay.
So what we're trying to do is actually not load the arms at all to start, just start to turn the body.
Okay.
So when we go back here and we do these little swings, these half swings, we're just gonna go, turn our body, not really use our arms. So our hands should feel low, like almost below our waist.
Okay.
So when the first part of this drill is just learning, hey, keep my hands low, don't really care if they're in, out, who cares? We're trying to get the sequence right?
Yes.
So if they go out here, nobody cares. All we're trying to do here is get your rib cage to turn on the backswing.
Yes.
So we go back, have this swing where hands get about, parallel to the ground, and they're
Maybe
below.
hip high, it's just below hip?
Yeah, and they're below the hips.
Okay.
Really big key. So if we can get the ribs turning, let's say 45 degrees, and we get the hands below the waist, that's the first part of this drill.
Okay. And now from there,
Yep.
what do I do in terms of the...
Yes, so now here's kind of the secret sauce. So once we set up this early relationship, this early sequence,
Yeah.
now we can set up the downswing sequence. So
Okay.
we set up this early sequence, ribs going, arms not doing anything. Now we're trying to feel the arms and hands go up, and they have a long way to go because they're so low. Now I can open my hips during that time. So what we're trying to have happen is early rib cage rotation, no hands and arms. Now we're trying to feel hands and arms, hips open back the other way.
Yes.
So-
And this is a drill that we've used for a couple years. I've seen work so freaking good, but the nuances are important. Two things to go over there. When we've done this drill in the past, people would send me the thing, and I'd be like, no, that's not correct. You're not doing it right. I'll take responsibility because we didn't explain this first piece.
Yes.
What we don't want to do, if you take your setup, JT, is no rib cage rotation, just load the arms.
Yes.
And then do the drill from there.
Yeah.
That's not correct. It's not just get the club here with no body motions. That's not what we're looking for.
Yeah.
Like JT mentioned, it's body motions to get the arms there. The arms didn't really even do anything. Then that's where this next piece of the drill goes in. I think that's important. I'll take personal responsibility for not explaining that. The second thing is the John Rahm video we wanted you to see to show you he did a very similar thing to learn how to use the hips. We've talked about that before. Now, when he does the drill, which we talked about in previous videos, you kind of stop there and just swing as hard as you can from there, no loading of the arms. And that's a way to do it. We've found that actually giving yourself time to load the arms gives you time to do the opening.
Yes.
So it's a slight variation of kind of how he did the drill. But maybe you could demonstrate a couple of those for us?
For sure. So the more you can delay your arms in this early part, the farther distance you have to move them as you open up.
That's so key, yeah.
Really, really key here. So it's going to do some of these, turning my ribs, no arms. Now I'm going to use the arms, open my hips.
And as you start, I thought you were going to do a couple practice swings just right with the ball pure
Sorry,
down
that
the
was-
middle.
ah,
No,
sorry,
that was good.
that was
That was good. Pured. So like when someone's starting to do this, and this is like any motion in the beginning where I've seen people do this where the first swing or two kind of feels a little uncoordinated or feels a little goofy and they're like, I don't like this, I'm not going to do this. Yeah. I've seen people get through that and do this and literally revolutionize their ability to rotate and hit it. So give yourself a couple swings with this. If we do a couple without a ball, I just want to ask you a couple questions.
Yep.
So when you're doing this, someone will be practicing, they're feeling that part first and then literally pausing. And then from there, the arms feel like they're going up. And at what point are you feeling the opposite motion? Is it right away? Is it a little bit later on? Like, what do you feel when you're doing that?
I would say I'm really trying to feel it right away, especially if you're someone that struggles to lead with their hips. You're going to feel it right away.
Can you show us what that, just a practice one?
Yeah. So we're going here again.
All body.
All body, no arms. Hands, again, a big key, trying to keep your hands below your hips here.
Yeah.
Then from here, get my hands up to my hips or up to my shoulder. And as soon as I start doing that, I'm already in the process of going this way.
Okay.
Yeah. So again, rib cage turn, hands not going anywhere. Hands move up, hips open.
And like John Rahm said in his video there, where like he goes back to here, and then his coach said, go as fast as you can. And so we are trying to build some speed into this once someone gets a motion, right?
Yep.
And so as they're feeling that, as you start to feel the speed go, you're going to start to get a lot of the hip and pelvis motion kind of for free. As you do that one more time, JT,
Yep.
if you do this first part, just some little cues for some people. As they're feeling the arms go up, are you feeling like more pressure into your lead foot? Are you feeling anything at all in terms of lead leg, hip, or anything like that?
Yes, so that may be a little bit more of a one piece more intricate would be, yes, you're going to start to get some pressure into your lead side as your hands go up. And then maybe once they reach their 75% point, that's when you may start to feel some of the opening.
Okay.
So what you wouldn't want would be, you go here, you do the really nice job, and then you just spin your hips open and all your weight's on your back foot.
Yes.
Right? So no good.
Right.
So that is a very important piece. As we start the loading of the arms, there's some pressure towards that kind of the outside part of your front foot, really just feeling like you're pushing down, squashing a bug with your left foot.
And as you're doing that, I remember when I first started doing this drill, guys, I mean, I probably felt, let's just say I was 50-50. Let's just say I felt 50-50 on the way back, even though it was more to the right. I felt like as I was doing that and swinging forward, I mean, I went from 50 in my left foot to 60, 70, 80, like pretty hard, pretty quick. Can you show us one with some speed? You can just do a practice one?
Yeah, for sure. So here we go. Here.
All body, boom. Speed, I said, JT. That was still like hassle. This guy's a long ball hitter, he says.
Oh, I thought you said with
Give me
speed.
some speed, dude.
Okay, yeah, here we go.
So a little body motion first, pause. Yeah, dude, let's just still do the drill. Show me the drill.
Oh, yeah, perfect.
But just swing it down faster.
Yeah.
Not 60 miles an hour.
Okay.
So like that level of speed, I would say for JT is very fast, but for him, that probably felt like, okay, I'm kicking the engine on a little bit. I think when they're doing this drill in the beginning, if you kind of want to feel that like, whoa, like I'm moving quickly, but that's getting initiated and going from here.
Definitely.
Having the arms load up gives you time to do it.
Correct.
Which is the whole point of this whole thing.
Yeah.
So JT, if someone's practicing, would you say like, okay, hey, you're gonna do maybe 10, 20, 30 reps with this, hit some shots, probably wanna film from face on, start to actually see that separation. And so the key they're honing in on is I'm feeling that pressure down and forward into my foot. I'm feeling the speed going, but all that's getting generated as those arms are still going back.
Yep.
That's the key.
And I would say kind of one extra drill we haven't talked about here would be, you can do this really with, I would do this with no ball first because it's a pretty hard drill, but you would hold the club with your lead hand, you would take your right hand, put it right underneath your lead hand here, and you want to hold your wrists kind of how you're holding the club. And the whole point of that is to learn how to feel and use your arms to pull up here as you're going down. So if you're right hand dominant, you can imagine when you hold your grip and you put your hand right on there, now that's the same feel as the drill.
Okay.
I'm going here and I'm actually pulling up as I'm changing direction. Again,
You're actually pulling your left arm with your right hand.
Yes, I'm actually pulling my left arm with my right hand. So this would be another way to feel this same thing. Again, just turning my rib cage. Now I'm using this to lift up my arm as I
You feel that pressure going to, so pulling up the left arm as that pressure is pushing down this way.
Yes.
So a lot of these videos, guys, we're talking about on the hip rotation that comes back to this. The real way to do it, okay, is the sequencing. It's using your upper body in a way that gives your lower body time and ability to do the things. That's a big, big key we're saying over and over.
Big key.
And we will keep doing them. Now, everything else is still true.
Yep.
Okay? I still can feel the pressure in my foot. I can still feel those leg motions we talked about, left hip, right hip. None of that is necessarily correct, right? One person wants to get in shape, they like to run. Another guy likes to swim. Another guy likes to bike.
Yep.
They all work.
They all
Different
work.
ways to do the same thing.
Yes.
So you'll see, hey, my right hip turn, my left hip turn, that's still all good stuff. But if you don't get the sequencing correct, it's kind of all for naught.
Yep.
So that's a drill that's going to take you a little bit of time to do, but really if I had one thing, I think if we both had one thing we could teach someone to do in terms of increasing the hip rotation, that would be the thing to do. I promise you, if you give that some time, that's going to really help transform your ability to rotate your hips, especially if you're stuck with it for years and years and years and years. Like I said, for myself, struggled with problems for like a decade, finally went to see a coach, got fixes fast. Stupid that I waited that long. I wouldn't recommend you wait that long either. Go see JT in person. I've been working with him on my own game for a long time. One of the few guys I really trust with that. We also coach together at CogornoGolf.com. Send your swings in there. All that will be down below. JT, appreciate you as always. Another beautiful one. Thanks, guys.
Yep.